My fiance said she wishes she never broke up with her ex because he understood her better, so now I'm questioning everything about our relationship and whether she actually wants to marry me. I'm sitting here at 2 a.m. trying to process what happened earlier today, and I honestly don't know if I'm overreacting or if my world just fell apart. My fiance Lisa and I have been together for 3 years, engaged for 8 months, and I thought we were solid. We have our wedding planned for next spring, venues booked, deposits paid, the whole thing. But after what she said to me this afternoon, I'm questioning everything. For context, Lisa is 28 and I'm 30. We met through mutual friends and clicked immediately. She's smart, funny, ambitious, everything I wanted in a partner. She works as a marketing director and I'm in software development, and we've always been able to talk about everything. Or at least I thought we could. Lisa dated this guy Marcus for about 2 years before we got together. They broke up maybe 6 months before she and I started dating, and from what she told me early on, it was mutual but painful. She said they just wanted different things in life and the timing wasn't right. She never really talked about him much after those initial conversations, which I appreciated because I didn't want to hear about her ex constantly. The issue started this morning when Lisa was stressed about some work presentation she has coming up. It's a big client pitch that could make or break her chances for a promotion she's been working toward for months. She was pacing around our apartment, practicing her talking points, and getting increasingly frustrated because she felt like she wasn't explaining her ideas clearly. I tried to help by listening to her practice and giving feedback, but apparently I wasn't giving her what she needed. She kept saying I didn't understand what she was trying to convey, and that my suggestions were missing the point. I'll admit I was getting a little frustrated too because I felt like I was genuinely trying to help and she was shooting down everything I said. The conversation kept escalating until finally Lisa just exploded and said, "This is exactly what I mean. You don't get it. Marcus would have understood exactly what I was trying to say without me having to explain it 5 different ways." That stung, but I tried to stay calm and said something like, "Well, I'm not Marcus, but I'm trying to help you the best way I know how." And that's when she said it. Lisa looked right at me with this expression of pure frustration and said, "Sometimes I wish I never broke up with him because at least he understood how my mind works. He could actually help me think through problems instead of just offering generic advice." I just stood there for a second because I couldn't believe she'd actually said that to me. Not only was she comparing me to her ex in the middle of an argument, but she was telling me she wished she was still with him instead of me. 8 months before our wedding. I asked her if she was serious, and she immediately backtracked and said she was just frustrated and didn't mean it like that. But the damage was done. You can't unsay something like that, especially when you said it with such conviction. I told her I needed some space to think and I've been driving around for hours trying to process this. I keep replaying the conversation and wondering if this is how she really feels about our relationship. If she wishes she was with Marcus instead of me, then why did she say yes when I proposed? Why are we planning a wedding? The thing that really gets me is that this wasn't just a throwaway comment made in anger. She specifically said he understood how her mind works and that he could help her in ways I can't. That sounds like she's been thinking about this for a while and comparing us regularly. I'm supposed to be her life partner, the person she chose to marry, but apparently I don't measure up to her ex when it comes to understanding her. How do you come back from something like that? How do you marry someone who's told you they wish they were with someone else? I don't know if I should confront her about this more directly, try to let it go, or what. But I can't stop thinking about whether she's been settling for me this whole time because Marcus wasn't available. Update 1. I went back to the apartment around midnight and Lisa was waiting up for me. She immediately started apologizing and saying she didn't mean what she said, that she was just stressed and took it out on me. She kept insisting that she loves me and wants to marry me and that the comment about Marcus didn't mean anything. But I couldn't just let it go. I told her that you don't accidentally tell your fiancé you wish you were with your ex unless that's something you've actually been thinking about. I asked her to be honest with me about whether she's been having doubts about our relationship or still has feelings for Marcus. That's when Lisa broke down crying and admitted that she has been thinking about Marcus more lately, but not in the way I thought. She said that with all the wedding stress and pressure at work, she's been feeling overwhelmed and nostalgic for simpler times. She said Marcus represented a period in her life when things felt easier and less complicated. She swore that she doesn't want to be with Marcus and that she chose me for a reason. She said she was just having a moment of weakness and that everyone compares their current relationship to past ones sometimes. She begged me not to let one stupid comment ruin everything we've built together. I wanted to believe her, but something about her explanation didn't sit right with me. The way she said Marcus understood her better wasn't just nostalgia, it sounded like a genuine criticism of our relationship. I asked her if there were other ways she felt like Marcus was better than me, and she got defensive and said I was twisting her words. The conversation went in circles for an hour, with her apologizing and me trying to understand whether this was really just a one-time thing or if it reflected deeper issues in our relationship. Eventually we were both exhausted and agreed to table the discussion until we could both think more clearly. But I barely slept last night, and this morning Lisa was acting like everything was back to normal. She made coffee and tried to chat about her work presentation like our conversation never happened. When I brought it up again, she sighed and said we'd already talked about it and she'd apologized, so couldn't we just move forward? That's when I realized she doesn't actually understand how much her comment hurt me. She thinks apologizing once should make this go away, but I can't stop thinking about the fact that when she was frustrated with me, her first instinct was to compare me unfavorably to her ex. I'm starting to wonder if there are other times she's thought I didn't measure up to Marcus but just didn't say it out loud. And I'm questioning whether she's marrying me because she actually wants to be with me, or because I'm available and Marcus isn't. Update 2. Things have gotten worse since my last update. I decided I needed to understand more about Lisa's relationship with Marcus to put her comments in context, so I asked her some direct questions about why they broke up and what their relationship was really like. Lisa was reluctant to talk about it at first, saying it wasn't relevant to us and that she didn't want to dwell on the past. But I pressed her because I felt like I deserved to know what I was being compared to. What she told me was pretty eye-opening. Apparently Marcus is some kind of creative genius type. He's a graphic designer who also does photography and writes music in his spare time. Lisa described him as incredibly intuitive and emotionally intelligent, someone who could read her moods and know exactly what she needed without her having to explain it. She said they had this amazing intellectual and creative connection where they could spend hours talking about ideas and projects. She made it sound like he was this deep, artistic soul who understood her on a level that most people couldn't reach. When I asked why they broke up if he was so perfect, Lisa got uncomfortable and said it was complicated. Eventually she admitted that Marcus didn't want to get married or have kids. He was focused on his art and his freedom, and he felt like commitment would stifle his creativity. Lisa wanted a traditional future with marriage and family, so they couldn't make it work despite their connection. So basically, Lisa settled for me because I want the same conventional life that she does, while Marcus was the great love who understood her soul but wasn't willing to commit. That's a pretty awful position to be in as someone's fiancé. I asked Lisa directly if she felt like she was settling by being with me instead of Marcus, and she got angry and said I was putting words in her mouth. She insisted that what she and I have is different but equally valuable, and that Marcus's emotional intelligence doesn't make him a better partner overall. But then she said something that made it even worse. She said Marcus understood my inner world, but you're building a real life with me. Those are two different things and I need both. I pointed out that it sounds like she's saying I'm the practical choice while Marcus was the romantic one, and that she wishes she could have Marcus's understanding combined with my commitment. She didn't deny it, which pretty much confirmed my worst fears. The next day I was talking to my brother about the situation, and he suggested I look up Marcus on social media just to see what I was dealing with. I'd never done that before because I didn't want to torture myself, but I figured it might help me understand Lisa's perspective. What I found made everything make sense in the worst possible way. Marcus's Instagram is full of artistic photos and deep, poetic captions about life and love and following your passion. He looks like the stereotypical sensitive artist type with the perfect beard and vintage clothes. His work is actually really good, and you can see why someone would be drawn to his creative energy. But here's the thing that really got to me, Lisa still follows him and regularly likes his posts. I scrolled back through months of his content and saw her likes on basically everything he shares. She's been keeping tabs on him this whole time and engaging with his content while telling me that their relationship was in the past. When I confronted Lisa about this, she said it didn't mean anything and that she likes lots of people's posts. But the pattern was pretty clear. She's been staying connected to Marcus and probably comparing our relationship to what she had with him. I'm starting to realize that I've been competing with a ghost this whole time. Lisa may have chosen to be with me, but emotionally she's still partially invested in Marcus and what they had together. And the worst part is that I can never measure up to the idealized version of him that she's carrying around. Update 3. Everything completely fell apart yesterday and I don't know if there's any coming back from this. I was already questioning whether Lisa really wanted to marry me or if she was just settling, but what I discovered has made me realize the situation is even worse than I thought. Lisa had to work late on Tuesday night, so I was home alone and decided to clean up our bedroom. I was putting some of her clothes away when I found a box tucked under some sweaters in the back of her closet. I wasn't snooping intentionally, but the box was in the way and when I moved it, some photos fell out. They were pictures of Lisa and Marcus together. Not just a few casual photos, but dozens of them spanning their entire relationship. Pictures of them traveling, at parties, intimate moments, artistic shots that Marcus had probably taken. But what made it worse was that these weren't just old photos she'd forgotten about, some of them were printed recently. I could tell by the photo paper and printing style. Under the photos were letters that Marcus had written to Lisa during their relationship. Long, romantic, poetic letters about how much he loved her and how she inspired his art. I didn't read all of them because it felt too invasive, but I saw enough to understand that what they had was intense and passionate in a way that our relationship has never been. At the bottom of the box was something that made my blood run cold. It was a letter that Lisa had written to Marcus but apparently never sent, dated just 3 months ago. Right around the time Marcus posted some Instagram story about missing someone he used to love. I know I shouldn't have read it, but I couldn't stop myself. In the letter, Lisa told Marcus that she thinks about him constantly and wonders what would have happened if he'd been willing to commit to her. She wrote about how she's getting married but still feels like part of her heart belongs to him. She said that being with me is safe and comfortable, but that she's never felt the same passion and connection with anyone else. The letter ended with Lisa saying that she knows Marcus probably doesn't want to hear from her, but that she needed him to know he was the love of her life and that she hopes he's happy with his choice to prioritize his freedom over their relationship. I sat on our bedroom floor reading this letter and felt like I was going to be sick. My fiancé had literally written a love letter to her ex 3 months ago, telling him that I was just the safe backup choice and that she'd never gotten over him. When Lisa got home that night, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the letter in front of me. The look on her face when she saw it told me everything I needed to know. She immediately started crying and saying it wasn't what it looked like, that she'd written it during a weak moment but never sent it because she knew it was wrong. She said she was just processing her feelings and that writing the letter had helped her realize that what she had with Marcus was in the past. But I'd had enough of her excuses and rationalizations. I told her that this wasn't just about one letter or one comment, it was about the fact that she's been emotionally cheating on me with a memory for our entire relationship. She's been keeping photos of them together, following his social media, writing him love letters, and comparing me to him constantly. I asked her point blank, if Marcus called her tomorrow and said he was ready to commit and wanted her back, would she choose him or me? Lisa couldn't answer the question. She just kept crying and saying it wasn't fair to ask her that because it wasn't a real scenario. But her inability to immediately say she'd choose me was all the answer I needed. I told her that I couldn't marry someone who was still in love with someone else, and that it was cruel of her to let me plan a wedding and a future with her when she knew she wasn't fully committed to our relationship. Lisa begged me not to make any permanent decisions while we were both emotional, but I told her I needed space to figure out if there was any way forward from this. I packed a bag and I've been staying with my brother for the past 2 days. Update 4. It's been 2 weeks since I moved out, and after a lot of thinking and several difficult conversations, I've made my decision about our relationship and our engagement. The first few days after I left were brutal. Lisa called and texted constantly, alternating between apologies, explanations, and promises that she would cut all ties with Marcus and focus entirely on our relationship. She sent me long emails detailing all the reasons she wanted to be with me and why our partnership was more important than whatever feelings she still had for Marcus. Part of me wanted to believe her, especially when she showed up at my brother's place with a box containing all the photos and letters from Marcus, saying she was ready to throw them away and start fresh with me. She said she'd been living in the past and that my finding the letter was a wake-up call that forced her to confront her unresolved feelings. But I kept coming back to the same fundamental problem. Lisa had spent our entire relationship comparing me to Marcus and finding me lacking. Even if she threw away the physical reminders and blocked him on social media, I couldn't erase the knowledge that she thought of me as the practical choice rather than the love of her life. The breaking point came when I asked Lisa why she had said yes when I proposed if she still had such strong feelings for Marcus. I expected her to say she'd been confused or hadn't realized the depth of her feelings at the time. Instead, she said something that made everything crystal clear. She said she'd said yes because she knew Marcus would never commit to her, and she didn't want to spend her life waiting for someone who would never give her what she needed. So she'd gotten engaged to me not because she wanted to marry me specifically, but because she'd given up on the person she actually wanted to be with and decided to settle for someone who would give her the conventional life she thought she should have. That's when I realized that even if Lisa managed to get over Marcus completely, I would always know that she'd chosen me as a consolation prize. I'd always wonder if she was thinking about him when we were together, or if she'd leave me if someone else came along who could offer both passion and commitment. I called Lisa and told her that I was ending our engagement. I explained that I couldn't build a marriage with someone who saw me as a settlement rather than a choice, and that we both deserved to be with people who were fully committed to the relationship. Lisa was devastated and begged me to reconsider, but I could tell that part of her was also relieved. I think she'd been feeling guilty about her feelings for Marcus and knew our relationship wasn't fair to either of us. We spent last weekend dividing up our belongings and dealing with the practical aspects of canceling our wedding. It was incredibly sad and difficult, but I also felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I don't have to wonder anymore whether I'm enough for her, or worry about competing with the ghost of her ex. The hardest part was calling our families and friends to explain why we were calling off the wedding. I was honest about the situation without going into all the details, and most people were supportive even if they were shocked. My brother pointed out that it was better to find out now than after we were married and possibly had kids. He said that Lisa had done me a favor by being honest about her feelings, even if it happened in the worst possible way. I heard through a mutual friend that Lisa reached out to Marcus after our breakup, but he wasn't interested in rekindling their relationship. Apparently he's involved with someone else now and told Lisa that their time had passed. I actually feel bad for her because she's lost both of us in the process of not being able to make a clear choice. As for me, I'm doing okay. I'm sad about the end of our relationship and disappointed that 3 years and an engagement came to nothing, but I'm also optimistic about the future. I know now that I want to be with someone who chooses me enthusiastically, not someone who settles for me because their first choice isn't available. I've started therapy to work through some of the trust and self-esteem issues this situation created, and I'm taking time to focus on myself and what I want in a partner. I'm not ready to date yet, but I'm hopeful that when I am, I'll find someone who sees me as their first choice rather than their backup plan. Looking back, I think Lisa's comment about Marcus understanding her better was actually a gift, even though it didn't feel like it at the time. It forced us to confront the fundamental problems in our relationship before we made the mistake of getting married. Sometimes the truth is painful, but it's better than living a lie.